m plus 4 equals 0, m equals negative 4. And what is m the same as? Cosecant. So we have cosecant theta equals 1. We can flip answers, not angles, correct? So cosecant is the same as sine theta equals what? 1. Why is it still the same? Because 1 over 1, and when you flip 1 over 1, you get 1. Okay. This one's going to be cosecant theta equals negative 4, which is negative 4 over 1. So sine theta equals what? Negative 1/4. That isn't nicely on the unit circle, so that one's going to cause us problems. They don't always give us solving ones that are on the unit circle, which makes it harder. But guess what? I did on the test. People still didn't solve them and left them blank. Scares me a bit. By a bit, I mean a lot. When is your cumulative? Next Tuesday. All right. So we have sine theta equals 1. Sine theta equals negative 1/4. Sine theta equals 1 should be the easy one. Where does that happen at? 90 degrees, but our answer has to be in radians. Some people are still giving degree answers when it's in radians. So this is pi over 2. This one we're going to have to, that's a 4, it doesn't look like it. We're going to need a reference angle because that is not on the unit circle directly as an exact value. So reference theta equals sine neg 1 of positive 1/4. We always do the positive because when we do the positive, it lands us in quadrant 1, right? In quadrant 1, the reference angle and the angle are the same. So you always do positive. Okay? Now make sure you are in radian mode because it's going to be way more complex if you put it in degree mode and then have to convert it to radians with decimals. Okay, so just do it in radians, I believe in you. So make sure your calculator is in radians, and every single person is trying this because this is for you. Maybe it's another on Tuesday. Second sine of 1/4 in radian mode. So our reference angle is 0.2526802551. Now the catch about this is our reference angle. That's the bow tie angles. Remember reference angles, bow tie angles, the angles between the x-axis and the terminating arm, right? Okay, so our reference angle is that. However, we are looking where sine is negative 1/4, correct? So yes, that's our reference angle, but we still need negative sine. Where is sine negative? Quadrants what and what? 3 and 4. Now guys, this reference angle is here and here, correct? That's where that 0.25 blah, 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 blah is, yes? So, for this first one, I needed to land there. So, I'm going to have to do what plus the reference angle? We're in radians. Pi. So, to get myself to here, I'm going to have to do pi plus that reference angle. Will you agree? Because pi gets us to the x-axis, so we add that reference angle. So, this theta is going to equal pi plus 0.2526802551. And I get 3.4, the nearest 10. And if you want, you can put rads behind it so that you know that you actually found an angle. Rads or radians. Okay? Makes sense how we got that one? Okay. How are we? So that's whenever something is in quadrant 3, that's what you always do. You do pi plus the angle, or 180 plus the angle, correct? It's in degrees. What do we do, though, when we know the reference angle in quadrant 4? So I need to go from here all the way to here. 2 pi minus, because 2 pi gets me to the x-axis. I need to take that little bit off. Yeah? So this angle here it's going to be 2 pi minus the bow tie angle or the rectangle. 2526, 8025. Why am I not rounding at current moment? Yeah, you're only allowed to round in the very last step. That's it. It's true. If you round earlier, you can make oopsies. So I get to the nearest 10, 6.0. Rads. And if I say nearest 10th, am I allowed to write 6? Am I allowed to write 6 if I say nearest 10th? No, it's 6.0. That's what it literally is. Okay? So my answer to this question would be theta equals pi over 2, 3.4, and 6.0. Should I just send it, or should I check it if possible? You can check it by typing it into your calculator. So let's try it out. So this is our y1. Now how do we type that in? We're going to have to do, what's cosecant the same as for our calculator? 1 over sine. So we're going to have to go 1 over sine x all squared plus 3 times 1 over sine x minus 4. So this is y1, bless you, and this is y2. y2 just equals 0. Okay? So typing it in, because you're practicing for your test on Tuesday. If you have the fraction button, yay, use it. Once you have them into y equals, we need to make sure we're in radian mode and change our window from what to what? Our x-min should be what? Our x-min should be 0, and our x-max should be what? 2 pi. Remember, that's a restricted domain, and restricted domain means x values. Always. So we're going to go to our window, we're going to go 0 to 2 pi. What are we going to look for? The x-intercepts, where they intersect, yeah? So second trace 5, enter, enter, enter. Because I put in the y equals 0. Wait, I get 1.570791. What the heck is that? Pi divided by 2. It's the same decimal. Yeah? Pi divided by 2. Same decimal. Yeah? Yeah. It's 3.14 divided by 1.5. Then we find the other one. Second trace 5. Remember, you can arrow up or arrow down onto your lines. And I get 3.390. Oh, 3.4. What? Girl, same answer. Second trace 5. Crazy. And I get 6.0. What's the same answer? What unit does number 2 come from? What unit does number 2 come from? First one. First comes in binomial. Unit 1. So it's a binomial theorem question. There's a formula on your formula sheet that helps you with binomial theorem. It says x plus y to the n is the binomial. So we know this is x. We know this is y, remembering that y has to have that negative sign, correct? Because I need a plus sign between them. And this is n, which looks like an R. All right? And then I gave you answer. All right. On the formula sheet, I also give you a formula for binomial theorem, correct? It's tk plus 1 equals nck x to the n minus k, y to the k. So I'm going to talk about what I would make y be before I put it in there. So I have x equals qx squared. I'm going to write my notes. X equals qx squared. Y equals negative 3 over x to the 1. We talked about this. How can I bring x to the 1 up into the numerator? Make it x to the what? Negative 1. Negative 3x to the negative 1. So, everyone's paying attention? I'm going to fill in what I do know. We have tk plus 1. This is where the answer goes, or where the answer will be. We agree? So the answer is 414,720 x to the 11. True statement? N will be 10. Remember, k is always one less than the term you're finding, correct? Because we have tk plus 1. We're not finding a specific term, though. So k is irrelevant right now with that. We have to use something else to find k. So we have n, which is 10. C, k, I don't know. So k stays a k. Remember when I don't know it? X is qx squared to the n minus k. So 10 minus k, that stays. Yeah? And then y is negative 3x to the negative 1 to the k. I'm going to do a little distribution with those exponents first before we do anything else. So we're going to get 414,720 x to the 11 equals 10ck. And then I'm going to get q to the 10 minus k, x to the 20 minus 2k. And then I get negative 3 to the k, x to the negative 1k. Do we agree? I just distributed. I put this to the q, and this to the x, this to the 3, and this to the x. Nothing crazy. Remember, when we don't know what k needs to be, we take just the x's out of both sides of the equation. So let's look at what I'm saying. Just a little reminder. This is not the easiest question. I get that. So on this side, I need an x to the 11. Do we see that? Yeah? Then on the right side of the equal sign, I'm going to pull the x's as well. So I'm going to pull this one. And it's being multiplied by that one. True statement? Everyone agree with that? So I'm just pulling out the x's. So I'm going to do that here. I'm going to go x to the 11 equals x to the 20 minus 2k times x to the negative 1k. That doesn't look like a negative 1 at all. So all I did was take the x's out. Does everyone understand that? Everyone gets that? That makes sense to everyone. Okay. On the left-hand side, I have an x to 11. It's an x to the 11. Cool. It's going to stay x to the 11. There's nothing I can do over there. On the right-hand side, I have two bases that are the same with two exponents. What do I do when I have the same base, two exponents, and I multiply? What do you do with those exponents, actually? Someone said it. You add them. So we're going to get x to the 20 minus 2k plus negative 1k. So I'm going to get x to the 11 equals x to the 20 minus 3k. Is that true? What do I do next? Do you remember? Yeah, well, no, you'll set this exponent equal to that exponent, right? Because x to 11 would have to be x. This 20 minus 3k is going to have to equal 11 somehow, right? In order for this to be a true statement, x to 11 equals x to the 11. So we're going to say 11 equals 20 minus 3k. Subtract your 20 over, and we get negative 9 equals negative 3k. And then what do I do, guys? Divide by negative 3. And what does k equal? 3. So my k equals 3. So all I do is I go back to that really awesome looking thing up there, that formula, and fill in 3 for k's, right? So I'm going to get, an aggressively thick marker. Let's see what I get. 414,720 x11 equals 10c3 q to the 10 minus 3, technically times x to the 20 minus 2 times 3, minus 3 to the 3, x to the negative 1 times 3, which looks way worse than it is. What's 10c3? 120. So I get 414,720 x to the 11 equals 120 times q to the 7 x to the 20 minus 6 is 14. What's negative 3 cubed? Negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3. Negative 27. X to the negative 3. What's x to the 14 and x to the negative 3? X to the 11. So I can just go by. Because you have an x to the 11 on the left-hand side and an x to the 11 technically on the right-hand side. So they can cancel off, right? If I can divide both sides by x to the 11. Then we're left with 414,720. What's 120 times negative 27? 3,000 q to the 7. Divide by 3,240. And what do we get? Sorry, negative 3,240. We get q to the 7 equals negative what? And then I have to take the 7th root. So that's 7 math number 5. I believe. That is 7 math number 5, I believe, in your calculator. Gets you the 7th root of negative 128. What do you get? Do I understand that question is not the easiest question? Yes. Can they still give it to you? Yes. So instead of saying, oh, that's hard, I'm never going to get it, you practice it till you can. It's called resilience. That's what we're going to do. So if we know this is a hard one for us, guys, shh, everyone listening? If we know this is a hard one for us, we star it, and we practice it without looking. And we also go into our notes, because I gave you one just like this in your notes, where you got a q cubed instead of a q to the 7. The ones at the very last examples in your notes. They're the ones where I gave you the answer and you have to solve for a variable. Okay? So if you're like, man, I need more practice, that's a good place to go. You can also go in your textbook, but your notes are awesome because they work out solutions. All right. Number 3. We have a prom planning committee of 6 teachers and 8 students decides to form a 6-person subcommittee to decide what decorations they'll use the night of prom. How many subcommittees can have at most 2 teachers? So at most means cases, correct? Cases means standard of excellence question. So if you have this one, most people get this one though. Now, if we're picking teachers from teachers and students from students, is it a permutation or a combination? Combination, order doesn't matter. Teachers from teachers, students from students, drivers from drivers, irons from irons, forwards from forwards, defense from defense, girls from girls, boys from boys, cats from cats, dogs from dogs. Always combination, right? Yeah? So we need at most 2 teachers. So we're going to need at most $2 if I went to a store. At most $2 means 2 or less. At most $2 means 2 or less. So that means I could have 2 teachers or, which is an addition, or means add, right? 2 teachers or 1 teacher or no teachers. What is my problem currently though? We need to add some students in here because this is how many people in this subcommittee? 2. How many in this subcommittee? And this one has no one. That's a really sad subcommittee. How many people do I need in my subcommittee? 6. So I have 2 teachers and I need to supplement with 4 students. This one I need to supplement with 5 students. And this one I need to supplement with 6 students. What if there wasn't 6 students? That case could just couldn't happen, right? I just didn't have enough to go in there, and it just couldn't happen. Which happens sometimes on diplomas, you guys don't have to do yourselves. Just doesn't happen. Can't have that case. So how many teachers are there? 6. And we choose 2. And means we do what? And add don't go together. Multiply. Remember, and add, not together. So and means we multiply. How many students are there? 18, and we choose 4. Cool. I get a new case. When I get a new case, I get them all back again, right? So even though we have 6, choose 2, 18, choose 4, I get all 6 back, I get all 18 back, because it's a new case. So, teachers. I have 6, I choose 1, and 18 students, choose 5. 0 teachers. Do I have to actually write 6, choose 0? How many ways can you have 6 and choose none of them? 1 way. You just go there and don't choose any. So I don't actually need to do this one. If I did 6C0 times 18C6, is that wrong? No, you just don't have to. I could just go 18C6. What's the answer? Does anyone have it? Type it in. 18,000. Just this one? All right, add them up. 115,800.
1,872. Yeah.
What?
115,872. 872.
All right. All right. Quiet, please. So this one wants to know, in this binomial expansion, how many will be positive? Well, let's just fill it out first. So we know we have x. We know we have y, which has to take the minus sign with it because we are x plus y. And then this is to the end. So we know x is 2x. We know y is negative 3y. And we know n is 10. True statement? So how many terms are we going to get if we actually expand this whole thing out? 11 terms. Because it's always 1 more than n. Because we start at k equals 0, and we go to k equals n. So 0 to 10 is 11 terms. Correct? So we know we have 11 terms total. So the way that might help us figure out how many are positive is perhaps maybe find term 1, term 2, term 3, and get a pattern or something like that, right? So, term 1 is tk plus 1, so k is going to be 0, because that's the only way I can get 1. K plus 1. We agree? So I'm going to get 10c0, x, which is 2 to the x, to the 10 minus 0, and then y, which is negative 3y, to the 0. Which is the only one that could possibly make this go negative? NC anything? Does that make anything negative? Nope. This one is 2x. It has a positive. Can it become negative ever? So this is the only one that could result in a negative. Yes? Negative 3 to the 0 is what? Negative 3 in brackets to the 0. Make sure you put it in brackets. It is positive 1. So this is going to become positive. True? Because this is going to become positive 1. So it kicks out the chance of that one being negative. Right? Let's look at the next one. So if I want term 2, it's going to be 1 plus 1, which is 10c1. Can't make it negative. This can't make it negative. Only this can make it negative. Negative 3y to the 1. What's negative 3 to the 1? Negative 3. So it's going to become negative. Then we're going to get negative 3y to the 2, which is positive. So term 1 is positive. Term 2 is negative. Term 3, positive. Term 4,
Negative.
term 5,
Positive.
term 6,
Negative.
term 7,
Positive.
term 8,
Negative.
bless you, term 9,
Positive.
term 10,
Negative.
term 11, positive. So how many terms are positive?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
6 terms are positive. Ben. How many terms are in the expansion? We talked about this already. How many terms are in the expansion? 11 terms total. And if it says determine the number of terms in the expansion, you would have to go 10 plus 1 and then explain it. N is the total number of terms. We start at k, we go to k equals 0 all the way to the n. So k equals 0 to n is 11 terms. Like you'd have to explain it if it said determine, right? If it says state the number of terms, you'd say 11. If it says determine the number of terms, you'd have to go 10 plus 1. And then we want T5. So it's tk plus 1 equals nck x to the n minus k, y to the k. So what does this have to be? If I want term 5, k has to be 4, right? Because 4 plus 1 is 5. If you use the formula, you don't have to be like, k is 1 less than the term. Just use your formula. I need term 5. So it's going to have to be t4 plus 1. N is 10. C, k is 4. X is 2x to the 10 minus 4. And y is negative 3y to the 4. Now, guys, common error is going to be forgetting to take that exponent and distributing it to the coefficient. Yes? It will be. Do you think, I've talked to you this numerous times. If you forget to do that, do you think the answer will be there? It 100% will. Okay? We don't want that. So we're going to get term 5 equals, what's 10c4? 210. 2x to the 6, negative 3y to the 4. I'm going to do this in 2 steps so I don't forget. 6 has to go to the 2 and to the x. The 4 has to go to the 3 and to the y. And now remember, negative 3 to the 4. Everyone paying attention to me, looking at me. If I put negative 3 to the 4 not in brackets into my calculator, it will tell me it's negative every single time. But you are smarter than your calculator. Negative anything to an even exponent is positive, guys. Okay? So if you go to put -3 into your calculator, -3 to the 4, you have to put it in brackets. So we're going to get T5 equals 210. 2 to the 6 is what? 64, x to the 6. -3 to the 4 is what? Positive 81, y to the 4. And then we have to multiply our coefficients. 81 times 64 times 210. And what do we get?
1088640.
1088640.
Okay.
X to the 6, y to the 4. They will have the answer to negative that on the diploma. Because there will be a ton of you, but -3 to 4 not in brackets. It's not discrimination. Scary. Okay, you guys are going to go open up your notes. The radical.